She thought grief was the worst thing that could find her in that isolated house on the cliff. She was wrong. The man who appeared at her door wasn't there to offer condolences for her dead husband's betrayal. He wasn't there to help her heal from discovering the other wife, the other life, the other lies. He came with eyes that shouldn't exist. One blue as heaven, one red as hell, and words that shattered what remained of her world. You're carrying a daughter, and she was promised to me 300 years before you were born. Mira Chen fled to forget a love that destroyed her, but the Nephilim who found her brought something worse than heartbreak. He brought an ancestral debt written in blood, a contract that claimed her unborn child, and a confession that made her blood run cold. I've collected 63 souls over 3 centuries to stay human. Your daughter is number 64. Unless... His voice cracked, split between warmth and ice. Unless I choose to lose everything. Instead, now she has 60 days before Hell's collectors return. 60 days to break an unbreakable contract. 60 days to save her daughter from a debt she never owed. But the creature sent to destroy her life is fracturing before her eyes. Half angel screaming for redemption, half demon howling for damnation. And the most dangerous thing isn't the bond forming between them. It's the realization that saving her child means condemning him to something worse than death. And he's willing to burn. For her anyway. The house smelled like salt water and regret when Mira finally unlocked the door. 6 months of dust coated the furniture her grandmother left behind, but she didn't care. She dropped her suitcase by the entrance and pressed her back against the wood, eyes closed, breathing like she'd just outrun something. She had. Memory. Truth. The ghost of a man who'd kept a second wife in an apartment 14 blocks from their bedroom. Her phone buzzed. 9th call from her mother today. She powered it off without looking at the screen. The beach house sat alone on a cliff, wrapped in fog so thick she could barely see the ocean from the windows. Perfect. She wanted to disappear into grayness, into nothing, into a place where no one knew her married name or pitied her widowhood, where no one whispered behind grocery store aisles about poor Mira Chen, the nurse who couldn't save her own husband, who didn't even know he had a whole other life. She walked through rooms that echoed. Living room with furniture covered in white sheets like corpses. Kitchen with a table for one. Bedroom overlooking cliffs that dropped into rocks sharp enough to kill. She stood at that window for a long time, watching waves crash and retreat, hypnotic and relentless. The nausea hit without warning. She barely made it to the bathroom before her stomach emptied everything she'd eaten that day. Stress, probably. Grief doing what grief does. She splashed cold water on her face and caught her reflection in the mirror. Hollow eyes. Hair she hadn't brushed in 2 days. Skin pale as the sheets downstairs. She looked like a ghost haunting her own life. The house next door was dark. Had been for years, according to the realtor. Some recluse owned it, paid property taxes on time, never visited. Good. The last thing she needed was a neighbor with casseroles and questions. She unpacked mechanically. Clothes in drawers. Toiletries and bathroom. The framed photo of her wedding. Day stayed buried at the bottom of the suitcase. She couldn't throw it away yet. Couldn't look at it either. That man in the tuxedo, smiling like he meant those vows. Had any of it been real? Or had she just been the wife he kept in public while the other woman got his actual heart? Night fell fast on the coast. She made tea she didn't drink and sat in the dark living room, listening to wind scrape against windows. The isolation felt like a weight pressing down on her chest. She'd wanted this. Needed this. So why did it feel like suffocating? Movement outside the window. Just a flicker. Shadow crossing shadow. Her heart kicked hard against her ribs. Nothing. Just paranoia. Just a woman alone in an empty house seeing threats in darkness because darkness was all there was now. She was reaching for the lamp when she felt it. A presence. Not sound, not sight. something deeper. Bone-deep certainty that she was not alone. The air in the room changed temperature, one side suddenly warm, the other cold, like standing between two different seasons. The knock on the door made her jump so violently she bit her tongue. Copper flooded her mouth. Who the hell would be here? Now? 9:47 at night, in a place where the nearest town was 20 minutes away. She approached the door with her phone in one hand, thumb hovering over 911, peered through the peephole. A man stood on her porch, tall and still, face half hidden in shadow. He wasn't knocking again, just waiting with the patience of something that had all the time in the world. "I'm calling the police," she said through the door, voice steadier than she felt. "You're not." His voice was wrong, too layered, like two people speaking at once, one tone warm as summer, the other cold as January. "And you shouldn't. I'm not here to hurt you, Mira." Her name in his mouth sent ice through her veins. "How do you know my name?" "I've been waiting for you." A pause. "For a very long time." She should have called the police. Should have run to the bedroom, locked the door, climbed out the window. Instead, she found herself unlocking the deadbolt, opening the door, because underneath the fear was something else. Recognition. Like her soul knew him, even though her mind had never seen his face. The porch light caught him fully. Beautiful. Devastatingly so. Sharp jawline, dark hair that fell into eyes that were wrong. One iris pale blue, almost white. The other deep crimson. Not contacts. Not a trick of light. Actually, impossibly, two different colors that shouldn't exist in a human face. "What are you?" The question came out as a whisper. He smiled, and it was the saddest thing she'd ever seen. Something that stopped being human a long time ago. He tilted his head, studying her with those unsettling eyes. "You're carrying life inside you. Did you know?" The world tilted. Her hand went to her stomach instinctively. "What are you talking about?" 2 months along, give or take a few days. His expression shifted, something like pain flickering across his features. "I can smell it, the sweetness of new soul, unformed, innocent." He took a step closer. She should have stepped back. Didn't. "That's why I'm here, Mira Chen. I came to collect a debt. One your family made a very long time ago. I don't understand." But her body did. Nausea. Exhaustion. The missed period she'd blamed on stress. Oh, God. The firstborn daughter of the 7th generation. That's what your ancestor promised. Payment for saving her dying child. His voice dropped lower, the warm tone fading, leaving only winter. Your daughter. The one growing inside you right now. She belongs to something much older than either of us. Mira's legs gave out. She hit the door frame, sliding down. Pregnant. She was pregnant with her dead husband's child. The husband who'd lied about everything. And now this impossibility, this thing with mismatched eyes, was telling her the baby was already claimed. No. The word barely made it past her lips. "No, you can't. She's mine. She was never yours." He crouched in front of her, and she saw it then. The way heat radiated from his right side, so intense she could feel sweat prickling. The way cold emanated from his left, frigid enough to raise goosebumps. Two halves of something that shouldn't exist. "I'm sorry, truly, but the contract is binding. When she's born, I take her, or I lose the last piece of myself that remembers being human." Tears burned hot down her cheeks. "What are you?" "Nephilim. Half angel, half demon. Caught between heaven's laws and hell's hunger. And you, Mira, you are the worst thing that could have happened to me." His hand lifted, hovering near her face but not touching. "Because you look exactly like her. The woman I loved 300 years ago. The one who died because I defied orders to save her." Mira didn't sleep. How could she? A creature with mismatched eyes had told her she was pregnant, that her unborn daughter was Eat. Payment for some ancestral sin, and then he'd simply walked away. Back to the dark house next door, like he'd just delivered mail instead of shattering what remained of her world. She sat on the bathroom floor until dawn, back against the cold tile, one hand pressed to her stomach. Empty. That's what she'd thought she was. Hollowed out by betrayal and death. But life had been growing inside her this whole time. A secret her body kept while her mind drowned in grief. Daniel's child. The man who'd sworn forever, while keeping another woman in an apartment with cream-colored walls and framed photos Mira would never be in. Did the other wife know about the baby? Did she have children too? Half-siblings her daughter would never meet. Her daughter. God. She was going to have a daughter. And something wanted to take her away. Morning light crept through the window, gray and weak. Mira pulled herself up, legs shaking, and splashed water on her face. Her reflection looked worse than yesterday. Eyes bloodshot, skin sallow. She looked like someone barely holding on. She was. The pregnancy test sat in the pharmacy bag on the counter. She'd bought it on impulse 2 weeks ago, told herself she was being paranoid. Now she pulled it out with trembling hands. 3 minutes later, 2 pink lines confirmed what the creature with the impossible eyes had already known. Positive. Undeniably. Terrifyingly positive. She was going to be a mother. Unless he took that away too. Rage hit her sudden and fierce. Everyone had taken from her. Daniel took her trust. His other wife took her memories. Death took her husband before she could demand answers. And now this Nephilim, this thing that shouldn't exist, thought he could take her child? No, absolutely not. She showered, dressed in clean clothes, braided her hair with steady hands. The nausea returned halfway through breakfast, but she forced down toast and water anyway. She needed strength, needed to think clearly, needed to understand what. She was fighting. The library in town was small, dusty, run by a woman who looked 70 but might have been ageless. Mira found books on mythology, folklore, religious texts, Nephilim, giants born of fallen angels and human women, abominations in the eyes of heaven, hunted, cursed, torn between 2 natures that warred constantly for dominance. One passage made her stomach twist. They often served as collectors, bound by contracts they couldn't break, forced to take what they were owed or lose. Their remaining humanity, becoming full demons, eternal servitude or eternal damnation. No third option. She thought of his face last night, the sadness in those mismatched eyes. I lose the last piece of myself that remembers being human. He wasn't lying. He was trapped just like she was. 2 people caught in a nightmare neither of them chose. That didn't mean she'd let him have her daughter. The librarian watched her stack books on the counter. Heavy reading for a vacation. Research? Project, Mira lied. The old woman's eyes were too sharp, too knowing. You're staying in the old Chen house, aren't you? On the cliff? Mira's pulse quickened. How did you know? Small town. People talk. She leaned closer, voice dropping. You should leave. That place, that whole area, it's got a wrongness to it. Has for generations. Your grandmother knew. That's why she never went back. What do you mean? Some debts don't die with the people who made them. They pass down. Blood too. Blood. Generation to generation. The librarian's gaze dropped to Mira's stomach for just a moment. Until someone finally pays. Mira left without checking out the books. The house felt different when she returned. Warmer on one side, colder on the other. She knew without looking that he was there, on her porch, waiting again with that terrible patience. He stood with his back to the door, watching the ocean. In daylight, she could see more. The way his right hand seemed to glow faintly in shadow, angelic light beneath the skin. The way his left hand looked almost gray, veins too dark, demonic corruption visible. He was split down the middle. Two halves at war. You went looking for answers. His voice carried that double tone again, warm and cold simultaneously. Did you find what you needed? I found out you're a prisoner too. She stepped onto the porch, keeping distance between them. Bound to collect debts you never chose. Forced to hurt people or lose yourself. He turned. Those eyes locked onto hers. Blue and red. Ice and fire. Does knowing that change anything? It means you're not a monster. Not completely. Aren't I? He moved closer. The temperature shifted violently, half of her body burning, the other half freezing. I've collected 63 debts over 3 centuries. 63 lives I took to keep my humanity intact. Children. Lovers. Firstborns promised by desperate ancestors. I am exactly what you should call a monster. Then why do you look so... broken? The words came out softer than she intended. Why do you look like every collection destroys you? Something flickered in his expression. Pain. Raw and ancient. Because it does. Every time. I remember each face, each name, each scream. His jaw clenched, and she saw it then. The right side of his face smoothing, growing younger, angelic beauty intensifying. The left side aging, lines deepening, shadows darkening under the skin. His duality made visible. Your ancestor, the one who made the contract. She looked like you, exactly like you. Same eyes, same face. I was supposed to collect her firstborn daughter. I fell in love with her instead. Mira's breath caught. What happened? I defied the contract, refused to take the child. Heaven sent executioners, hell sent collectors. She died protecting our daughter. Our daughter died anyway 3 days later, because breaking the contract always has consequences. His hands clenched into fists, right hand glowing brighter, left hand darkening further. I've been collecting ever since, paying for that one act of mercy with centuries of cruelty. And now here you are, her face, her voice, carrying the debt I should have collected 10 generations ago. Why didn't you? Mira asked. Why let it pass down? Because I'm a coward. The admission came out jagged. I kept hoping someone in your bloodline would have a son, that the debt would die unfulfilled. But daughters kept coming. 7 generations of firstborn daughters. All spared because I couldn't stomach finishing what I started. He took another step. She should have backed away. Didn't. Until you. The 7th. The final payment. If I don't collect your daughter, I don't just lose my humanity. I lose existence entirely. The contract will consume me. 300 years of borrowed time, called due all at once. So it's her life or yours. Yes. And you came here to warn me. I came here because I'm selfish. His voice cracked, warm tone and cold tone. Splitting apart, discordant. Because seeing your face makes me remember what it felt like to be human, to love someone more than self-preservation. And I thought maybe, if I warned you, gave you time, you'd run. Disappear. Make it so I couldn't find you when the time came. Let the contract destroy me while you lived. Mira's hand went to her stomach again. Protective. Instinctive. You want me to run. I want you to survive. He reached out, hand hovering inches from her face. She felt it. The division. Right side radiating warmth like summer sun. Left side emanating cold like winter grave. Even if it cost me everything. Again. The moment stretched between them. 2 people trapped by choices made centuries before they were born. 2 people staring at impossible odds. 2 people who shouldn't feel anything except fear. But when his eyes met hers, blue and red swirling with something that looked like hope and despair tangled together, Mira felt her heart kick against her ribs. Not from fear, from something far more dangerous. Recognition. Connection. The horrible, beautiful certainty that their fates were bound tighter than any contract. I'm not running, she whispered. His hand dropped. Then we're both doomed. 3 days passed in strange suspension. Mira existed in the space between knowing and denial, between terror and something she refused to name. The Nephilim stayed in the house next door, close enough that she could feel him. A constant presence. Warmth and cold bleeding through the walls separating them. She caught glimpses of him, standing on his porch at dawn, face tilted toward sky like he was listening for something. Sitting on the cliff's edge at dusk, shoulders curved inward, looking more human than anything with mismatched eyes should. Once, she saw him press his right hand against a tree trunk, and flowers bloomed where he touched. Then his left hand followed, and the blossoms withered to ash. Creation and destruction, angel and demon, all in one impossible body. The morning sickness got worse. She spent the 4th day hunched over the toilet, retching until her throat burned. When she finally staggered out, weak and dizzy, he was in her kitchen, standing by the window, not moving, just existing in her space like gravity had pulled him there. "You need to eat." His voice was quieter than before, less layered, almost human. "Get out of my house." She meant it to sound strong. It came out hoarse. "I made tea. Ginger. It helps with nausea." He gestured to the cup steaming on the counter. "I remember. From before. She was sick too. Every morning for months." Mira wanted to throw the cup at his head, wanted to scream. Instead, she found herself reaching for it, bringing it to her lips, drinking. The warmth spread through her chest, settled her stomach. She hated that it worked. Hated more that he'd remembered something from 300 years ago just to help her now. "You can't keep breaking into my house." "I didn't break." "In. You left the door unlocked." He turned to face her fully. In daylight, the division was starker. Right side of his face luminous, almost glowing. Left side shadowed, veins too visible, too dark. Dangerous. Anyone could walk in. Anyone did. She set the cup down harder than necessary. "A creature planning to steal my daughter." Pain flickered across his features. Real. Visceral. "I've been thinking about that. Thinking about how to take her. Thinking about how not to." He moved closer. The temperature shift was immediate. Her right side flushed with heat. Her left side broke out in goosebumps. There might be a way, a loophole in the contract. Hope flared bright and painful in her chest. What kind of loophole? The contract specifies firstborn daughter of the 7th generation. It doesn't specify timing. His mismatched eyes held hers. "If I can prove I'm trying to collect but circumstances prevent it, I might buy time. Years, maybe. Enough for her to grow up, have a life. And then what? You show up on her 18th birthday?" Mira's voice cracked. She gets to live knowing something's coming for her? Better than dying as an infant. His right hand lifted, reached toward her face, stopped. "I know it's not perfect, but it's something. It's more than I've offered anyone else." "Why?" The question burst out of her. "Why are you trying to save us? You said it yourself. If you don't collect, you die. So why fight it?" His hand dropped. For a long moment, he just stared at her. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Because you're not her. I know that. Logically, I know. But you have her face, her voice, the way you tilt your head when you're angry, the way you touch your stomach like you can already feel the love you'll have for that child." His jaw clenched, right side smooth, left side aging visibly, lines deepening. "And I can't do it again. I can't watch someone with her face die because of a choice I made centuries ago. I'd rather cease to exist." The air between them felt charged, electric, dangerous. Mira's heart hammered against her ribs. She should step back, should maintain distance, should remember he was a threat, no matter how broken he looked. Instead, she stepped forward, close enough to feel the division fully. Right side warmth soaking into her skin. Left side cold, raising every hair on her arm. Close enough to see the war happening in his eyes. Blue fighting red. Ice fighting fire. Angel fighting. Demon. "What's your name?" she asked. "Your real name. Not what you call yourself now." "Cain." A bitter smile. "Ironic, I know. The first murderer. The first cursed. It seemed fitting when I chose it." "What about before? What did she call you?" Something in his expression shattered. "Raziel. It means secret of God." His voice broke into two distinct tones. One warm and soft. One cold and sharp. "I haven't heard that name in 300 years. Raziel." She tested it. It felt old on her. Tongue. Ancient. "I'm not her. You're right. I'm not the woman you loved. I'm just me. Mira. A widow who didn't know her husband was a liar. A woman who's terrified and angry and pregnant with a child I didn't plan." She lifted her hand, held it inches from his face, mirroring how he'd reached for her. "But I think you're trying. I think somewhere in this divided mess you've become, there's still something that remembers mercy. Mercy got her killed. Cruelty is killing you." She let her hand. "Hover there, feeling the temperature war. I see it. Every day you're here, you look more fractured, like you're tearing apart from the inside." "I am." His eyes closed. When they opened, red and blue were swirling, mixing, fighting for dominance. "Every moment near you makes it worse. I should leave. Should put distance between us. But I can't. Your presence pulls at something I thought I'd buried. And the closer I get, the more I feel the bond trying to form." "Bond?" Her hand dropped. "What? Bond?" "Nephilim can mate bond with humans. It's rare. Dangerous. Once it forms, we're linked. I feel what you feel. You sense what I am. It's supposed to be chosen. Mutual. But proximity can force it. Especially when there's already a connection." His right hand lifted, pressed against his chest. "It's why my kind stay isolated. Why we don't form attachments. Because a mate bond with a mortal means watching them age and die while we continue. It means feeling their death like our own." Mira's breath caught. "Is it forming between us?" "I don't know." But his voice said he did. "Maybe. The signs are there. The way I can sense when you're in pain. How I knew you were sick this morning before I saw you. The pull I feel to be near you even though every instinct screams to run. That's not a bond." Her voice sounded steadier than she felt. "That's just basic empathy. Human decency. I haven't been human in 300 years. He stepped closer. No space between them now. Heat and cold warring across her skin. "I don't remember what decency feels like. I only remember duty, contract, survival, until you." His right hand lifted, slowly, giving her time to move. She didn't. His palm hovered over her stomach, not touching, just close enough that she felt warmth radiating through her clothes. Gentle, protective. Everything his left side wasn't. "I can sense her." His voice dropped to something reverent. "The life inside you. So small. So new. She doesn't know what's waiting. Doesn't know she's already claimed." His hand trembled. "And I hate it. I hate that my existence means hers is forfeit. I hate that 300 years of trying to hold on to humanity comes down to this. Her life for mine. Then let's find another way." Mira's hand covered his. The warmth intensified. His eyes shot to hers, wide with shock. "You said there's a loophole. We'll use it. We'll fight this. Together." "Together," he repeated, like the word was foreign. "Yes." His left hand lifted. Stopped. Horror crossed his face. "I can't. If I touch you with both hands, if the bond completes, there's no breaking it. You'll be tied to me, to this curse, forever. Then don't." But her other hand was already rising, already reaching for that cold, dark, demonic side of him. "Or do. and we face this together instead of alone. Mira. Her name in his fractured voice. Warning. Plea. Hope. You don't know what you're offering. I know I'm tired of losing everything. Her hand hovered over his left. Ice radiated from it. I know I'm tired of being alone, and I know that you're the only one who's been honest with me, even when the truth was terrible. Their eyes locked, blue and red swirling. The moment stretched, expanded, became everything. Then her hand closed over his left. Ice and fire met. The bond snapped into place like a chain, like a thread, like two souls recognizing each other across an impossible divide. And Mira felt everything. His 3 centuries of guilt. His desperate, aching loneliness. His war between angel and demon. And underneath it all, terrifying and beautiful, the fragile, growing realization that he would burn the world before letting anyone hurt her. The bond hit like a tidal wave. Mira gasped, knees buckling, and Cain caught her before she fell. Both hands on her now, heat and cold, creation and destruction. And through the touch, emotions that weren't hers flooded her system. Guilt so heavy it felt like drowning. Loneliness so vast it could swallow galaxies. And beneath it all, something raw and desperate. The need to protect her, to keep her safe, even if it meant damning himself. I can feel you, she whispered, clutching his arms. God, I can feel everything. I know. His voice shook. I feel you too. Your fear, your determination, the love you already have for the child you haven't met. His forehead dropped to hers. And your grief, the betrayal, the husband who lied. I feel all of it. She should have pulled away, should have been horrified. Instead, she leaned into him, into the impossible temperature of his body, into the certainty that she wasn't alone anymore, that someone finally understood every fractured piece of her. They stayed like that for endless moments, breathing together, feeling together. 2 people who'd been alone for so long they'd forgotten what connection felt like. When they finally separated, the absence of his touch was physical pain. She saw the same loss reflected in his mismatched eyes. We need to talk about the contract. His voice was steadier now, but she felt the tremor underneath. The bond made lying impossible. Now that we're linked, things are more complicated. How? Mate bonds are sacred, even to demons, even to angels. He ran a hand through his dark hair. Right side glowed faintly. Left side seemed to absorb light. If they discover we're bonded, they'll use it against us. They'll threaten you to control me, or they'll kill you to break me. They? Mira sank into the kitchen chair. Her legs still felt weak. Who exactly are we talking about? The ones who hold my contract. Hell's collectors. They check in periodically. Make sure I'm fulfilling my obligations. His jaw clenched. They were supposed to come last month. I've been expecting them. And now that the bond's formed, they'll sense it the moment they're near me. Fear spiked through her. Through the bond, she felt his fear mirror hers, amplify it. When will they come? Could be today. Could be next week. They don't announce visits. He moved to the window, staring out at the gray ocean. We need a plan, a story, something that explains why I'm still here, why the debt isn't collected yet. The loophole you mentioned. Tell me exactly how it works. He was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful, measured. The contract states I must collect the firstborn daughter. It doesn't specify the method or timing. As long as I can prove I'm actively working toward fulfillment, they'll allow delays, obstacles, complications. What kind of complications? Protection wards, family guardians, the mother's unwillingness to give up the child. His eyes met hers. Your resistance buys time. Every time you refuse, every time you fight back, it adds to the justification for delay. Understanding dawned cold and sharp. You need me to fight you. Publicly. Enough that they believe you're trying, but I'm making it impossible. Yes. And if they don't believe it? His silence was answer enough. Through the bond, she felt what he wouldn't say. They'd kill her. Take the child anyway. Punish him for hesitation by making him watch both of them die. Then we make it convincing. She stood, walked to him, placed her hand over his chest, felt his heart beating in two different rhythms, one fast and warm, one slow and cold. We make them think I'm your greatest obstacle, that you're trying everything and I'm thwarting you at every turn. Mira. Her name came out. Strangled. You don't understand what you're agreeing to. To make it believable, I'll have to threaten you, hurt you, do things that will make you hate me. Will you actually hurt me? Never. The word was instant. Absolute. I'd destroy myself first. Then I trust you. She felt his shock through the bond, sharp and electric. We'll play their game, buy time, find a real way out. Before he could respond, the air in the kitchen changed. Pressure built. Temperature dropped. Not from him. From something else. Something that made every hair on her body stand at attention. Kane's entire body went rigid. His eyes flared. Red overtaking blue. They're here. Who? The collectors. He grabbed her shoulders, heat and cold burning through her shirt. Listen to me carefully. Whatever happens, whatever I say or do, remember it's not real. Remember the bond. Feel what I feel. Know the truth underneath the lies. Kane, you're scaring me. Good. Be scared. Show them fear. Show them defiance. But don't show them the bond. His grip tightened. If they sense what we are to each other, we're both dead. The kitchen door exploded inward. No knock, no warning, just violence. Two figures stepped through the ruined frame. They looked human. Almost. But their eyes were completely black. Voids that absorbed light. And when they smiled, their teeth were too sharp. Too many. Kane. The first one spoke with a voice like grinding metal. You've been busy. Playing house with the mortal. How domestic. I'm working the contract. Kane's voice changed, became colder, harsher. The warm tone disappeared entirely. She's proving difficult. The second collector laughed. It sounded like breaking bones. Difficult? She's a pregnant widow living alone. What's difficult about that? She has protections. Wards I didn't anticipate. Kane gestured dismissively at Mira. She felt his desperation through the bond. Play along, be afraid, resist. Her grandmother was more prepared than expected. It's taking time to break through. The first collector moved closer to Mira. She forced herself to stand still, even as every instinct screamed to run. It circled her slowly, studying her like a specimen. She doesn't look warded. She looks terrified and alone. Appearances deceive. Kane stepped between them, protective. But his voice stayed harsh. Give me 2 more months. I'll have the child. 2 months. The collector's black eyes narrowed. That's 60 days you're asking for. 60 days. Of continued existence. What makes you think you've earned that? Because I've never failed a collection in 300 years. There's always a first time. The second collector appeared behind Mira suddenly. She gasped. Cold fingers touched her hair. Maybe we should just take them both now. Mother and child. Clean. Efficient. Through the bond, she felt Kane's fury, his terror, his barely controlled impulse to rip the collector apart, but his face stayed impassive. And waste a perfectly good contract. The paperwork alone would take decades. The collector behind her laughed again. That horrible breaking sound. Always the bureaucrat, Kane. Fine. 2 months. But we're watching. One mistake. One sign you're stalling instead of collecting. Its breath was cold against her ear. And we'll make you watch while we take everything. They vanished. No door, no exit. just gone. Pressure released, temperature normalized. The kitchen door hung on broken hinges. Mira's legs gave out. Cain caught her again, both arms around her, and she felt everything he'd held back. The rage, the fear, the murderous impulse he'd barely controlled. His whole body shook. "I'm sorry." His voice was broken. "I'm so sorry you had to experience that. You protected me." She clung to him, even when they threatened. "You stood between us." "I always will." He pulled back enough to look at her face. Blue was fighting red again. Angel trying to reclaim Space Demon had taken. But now we're on a clock. 2 months, 60 days, and they'll be watching. Then we use every single day. She cupped his face, felt the temperature difference against her palms. We find a way to break this contract, to free you and save her. There is no way. Contracts written in blood and soul don't break. They don't bend. They consume. Then we write a new one. The idea formed even as she spoke. Desperate. Insane. Maybe brilliant. A counter-contract. Something that supersedes the old one. Mira, that's not how. It works. Why not? If one ancestor could promise my daughter away, why can't I promise something else? Something of equal value? She felt his hope flare through the bond. Dangerous. Fragile. What if I offer myself instead? My life for hers? Would that satisfy the debt? No. The word was immediate, final. Absolutely not. I won't even consider it. It's not your choice. She stood on shaking legs. She's my daughter, my responsibility. If I can save her by trading places, I will. And I'll watch another woman with that face die because of this curse? His hands fisted. Right hand glowing so bright it hurt to look at. Left hand so dark it seemed to devour reality. I'd rather burn. Then help me find another way. Her voice cracked. Because in 2 months, they're coming back. And if we don't have a solution, we lose everything. His eyes held hers. Red and blue swirling with emotions too complex to name. Through the bond, she felt his conflict. His desperate need to protect. Her. His hatred of the contract. His growing certainty that there was no way out that didn't end in someone's death. Finally, he spoke. There might be one option. Dangerous. Probably suicidal. But possible. Tell me. We find the original contract. The one your ancestor signed. And we destroy it. Where is it? His expression was grim. Hell's Vault. Guarded by things that make those collectors look merciful. Hell's Vault wasn't a place you could simply walk into. Cain explained this well. Pacing her living room, right side leaving warm footprints on the hardwood, left side collecting frost. The vault existed between dimensions, accessible only through specific thresholds. Cemeteries at midnight, crossroads where murders occurred, churches built on desecrated ground. The nearest threshold was 43 miles inland. An abandoned cathedral that had burned down in 1972, killing the priest and 12 parishioners. The church was never rebuilt. The ground never. Reconsecrated. It became a wound between worlds. A door standing permanently ajar. We go tonight. Mira's decision was final. Through the bond, she felt Cain's protest before he voiced it. You're 2 months pregnant. Exhausted. Still recovering from finding out your entire life is a supernatural nightmare. He stopped pacing, faced her. And you want to walk into Hell's Vault where things that predate humanity guard contracts written in blood and souls? You have a better plan? His silence confirmed what she already knew. They had 57 days left. 57 days before the collectors returned. Every moment wasted was a moment closer to losing everything. If we do this, his voice dropped low, dangerous. You follow my lead absolutely. No questions, no hesitation. The things in that vault don't negotiate. They don't show mercy. They exist to guard. And they will kill you without a second thought. Then make sure they don't get the chance. Something flickered in his eyes. Pride, maybe. Or terror at her recklessness. Through the bond, she felt both, along with a deeper emotion he wasn't ready to name, one that made her chest ache and her breath catch. They left at 9 p.m. The drive was silent, except for wind howling against the car windows. Mira kept one hand on her stomach, feeling the life growing there. So small, so vulnerable, so completely unaware that her existence was currency in a deal made generations before her mother was born. "Tell me about her." Mira broke the silence. "The woman I look like. The one you loved." Kane's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Why?" "Because we're bonded now. Because I feel your grief every time you look at me. Because if I'm going to wear her face, I should know who she was." He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, voice soft and fractured, "Her name was Alara. She was a healer. Took in orphans, fed strangers, gave everything she had to people who had nothing." His jaw clenched. Her mother made the contract when Alara was dying of fever as a child. Promised the firstborn daughter to save her life. Alara grew up not knowing. Not until I came to collect. But you didn't. No. I saw her with those children, singing to them, healing their wounds, being the kind of human I'd forgotten existed. His right hand glowed faintly. I told her the truth. Gave her time to run, to hide. She refused. Said if her life was forfeit, she'd spend every remaining day making it count. Mira's throat tightened. "You fell in love." "I fell in love." The admission came out broken. "And when I defied the contract, when I refused to collect her daughter, they sent an army, angels and demons both, united in their hatred of a Nephilim who dared choose mercy over duty." His voice cracked. "She died protecting our child. I held her while she bled out, felt her soul leave, and 3 days later, our daughter stopped breathing. The contract took her anyway, punishment for my defiance." Through the bond, Mira felt it all. The unbearable weight of 300 years carrying that guilt. The way every collection since had been an act of self-destruction. Choosing duty over love, over and over, until he forgot what it felt like to choose anything else. "I'm not her," Mira said quietly. "I'm not Alara. I'm angrier, more cynical. I spent 6 months married to a man who kept another wife and I never suspected. I'm not some selfless healer who sees the good in everyone. I know." His eyes met hers briefly, red and blue swirling. "You're sharper, harder. You fight back instead of accepting fate. You threatened me with a kitchen knife the second night I showed up on your porch. She hadn't thought he'd noticed. You were being cryptic and ominous. You have terrible survival instincts." But there was warmth in his voice, almost affection. "Threatening a Nephilim with a knife. What were you planning to do? Chop vegetables on me aggressively?" Despite everything, she laughed. The sound surprised them both. Through the bond, she felt his shock, his pleasure at hearing it. "I was improvising. It seemed like the thing to do. Next time, improvise running away. There won't be a next time. After tonight, we burn that contract and you're free." His expression darkened. "Mira, you need to understand. Even if we succeed, even if we destroy the original contract, there are consequences. The magic binding me to 300 years of collections doesn't just disappear. It has to go somewhere. Where? Into me. All of it. Every soul I collected. Every death I caused. It all comes back." His hands trembled on the wheel. "There's a reason Nephilim don't break contracts. The backlash usually destroys us, drives us completely demonic. No angel left, no humanity, just hunger and chaos." She felt his fear through the bond. Not of death. Of becoming the monster he'd spent centuries trying not to be. "Then we'll figure that out too. You have too much faith in me." "I have. Faith in us." She reached across, placed her hand over his on the wheel. Heat and cold meeting. The bond means something. It has to. The cathedral ruins appeared through the darkness. Broken walls, collapsed roof, windows like empty eye sockets. The air around it felt wrong, thick, oppressive, like reality was thinner here. Kane parked the car and turned to her. Last chance to stay here, to stay safe. Not happening. He closed his eyes briefly. You're going to be the death of me. Or the saving of you. She squeezed his hand. Let's find out which. They approached the ruins carefully. The ground was scorched black even after 53 years. Nothing grew here. Nothing lived. Just ash and memory and the persistent smell of smoke that never quite faded. Kane led her to the center where the altar once stood. Now just a broken stone covered in symbols that hurt to look at. He knelt, pressed both hands to the stone. Light and shadow poured from his palms. The symbols began to glow. When the door opens, his voice was strained. Stay close to me. Don't look at anything directly. Don't respond if something calls your name. And whatever you do, don't accept anything offered. How will we know where to find the contract? I'll know. All collectors know where their contracts are stored. We're bound to them. The stone beneath his hands cracked. It's part of the curse. We can always find what we're meant to collect. The crack widened, deepened, became a chasm, and from that darkness, heat poured out. Not the warmth of his angelic side. Real heat, suffocating, oppressive. The heat of a place where nothing good survived. Voices whispered from below. Promises, threats, pleas, all blending together into a chorus of the damned. Kane stood, held out both hands to her. Once we descend, there's no turning back. We commit or we die. Are you certain? Mira thought of her daughter. The life growing inside her. The future being stolen before it could begin. She thought of Kane, bound to 3 centuries of death because he'd chosen love once and been punished for it. She thought of Alara, dying to protect her child. Of all the women in her bloodline who'd lived under this curse without knowing. She took his hands. Heat and cold flooded her system. The bond flared bright and certain between them. I'm certain. They stepped into the chasm together. The moment their feet left solid ground, the world inverted. Up became down. Gravity shifted. Reality bent. Mira clung to Kane as they fell upward, downward, sideways through darkness that whispered secrets and lies in equal measure. When they landed, it wasn't with impact, just sudden stillness. They stood in a corridor made of obsidian, walls carved with faces screaming silently, ceiling dripping something that looked like oil, but smelled like despair. The vault is ahead. Kane's voice echoed strangely. Stay close, touch nothing, and remember, whatever you see, whatever tries to separate us, hold onto the bond. It's the only real thing in this place. They walked. Minutes or hours, impossible to tell. The corridor shifted, changed, showed them things meant to break them. Mira saw Daniel, alive, whole, explaining why he'd needed another wife, why she hadn't been enough. Kane saw Alara, bleeding out again and again, each death worse than the last. But through it all, the bond held, warm and cold, angel and demon, human and Nephilim, tethered together by something stronger than hell's. Illusions. Finally, they reached a door. Massive, black, covered in locks that looked like screaming mouths. Behind this, Kane whispered, is every contract ever made. Millions of them. We need to find mine, fast, before the Guardians realize we're here. He placed both hands on the door. It swung open silently, and Mira saw exactly what 300 years of blood debt looked like. Contracts stacked floor to ceiling, each one pulsing with dark light, each one representing a soul sold, a life promised, a future stolen. Somewhere in that infinite collection was hers. And they had minutes, maybe less, to find it before something far worse than collectors discovered their presence. The vault stretched endlessly in all directions, shelves carved from bone, contracts written in blood on parchment that pulsed like living tissue. The air tasted metallic, copper and ash and something older than language. Mira's hand tightened around Kane's. Through the bond, she felt his certainty pulling him forward like a compass pointing north. This way. His voice was barely audible. I can feel it. The contract. It's calling to me. They moved through rows of shelves that defied geometry, turned corners that shouldn't exist, past contracts glowing with fresh blood and others so old they'd turned black. Each one represented a life bound, a soul promised, a debt waiting to be collected. Thousands. Millions. The weight of human desperation made physical. Kane stopped abruptly. His entire body went rigid. There, on a shelf at eye level among hundreds of others, one contract burned brighter. Parchment the color of old bone, writing in blood that still looked wet after 300 years. Mira could read the words even though they were written in a language she'd never learned. The curse of the vault. Everything here was understood. Everything here was witnessed. She read her ancestor's name, Maria Chen, read the promise, the firstborn daughter of the 7th generation in exchange for saving her dying child. Read the price. A soul collected by the bearer of this contract, the Nephilim known as Raziel, now called Cain. That's it. Her voice shook. That's what's haunted my family for generations. Cain reached for it. His fingers were inches away when the temperature plummeted. Not his cold. Something else. Something that made his coldest touch feel like summer warmth. A voice echoed through the vault. Ancient, layered with thousands of tones. Thief. Oathbreaker. Destroyer of sacred contracts. From the shadows between shelves, something emerged. It wore the shape of a man, but the proportions were wrong. Too tall. Limbs too long. Eyes that were doorways into nothing. A guardian. One of the oldest. The things that predated angels and demons both. I'm not stealing. Kane's voice was steady, but through the bond, Mira felt his terror. I'm claiming what's mine. This contract bears my name. The contract is not yours. It is ours. All debts belong to the vault. All promises made become our property. The guardian moved closer. Reality bent around it. You came to destroy, to break what was bound. This is forbidden. The contract is unjust. The debt was paid 300 years ago when an innocent woman died. When her child died. The cycle should have ended. Justice is not our concern. Only preservation. Only collection. It reached toward them. Fingers that were too many, too sharp. The contract remains. You will leave. Or you will become part of the collection. Cain stepped in front of Mira, heat and cold radiating from him in waves. Let us take it. Please. It's destroying innocent lives. It destroyed mine. Your destruction is irrelevant. Your suffering is irrelevant. The contract exists, therefore it must be preserved. The guardian's void eyes fixed on Mira. The woman carries the debt. The child inside her womb is promised. This is known. This is written. This is law. Rage flooded through Mira. Not just hers. Cain's too. The bond amplifying their shared fury. Law? Her voice came out stronger than she felt. What law says an unborn child pays for sins committed before her grandmother was born? What law says a man loses his humanity collecting debts he never chose? Laws written before your kind existed. Laws that will endure after your kind is dust. The guardian moved faster than sight. Suddenly in front of her. Fingers reaching for her stomach. The child is owed. The child will be taken. Cain moved. Faster than the guardian. Faster than possible. His right hand caught the guardian's wrist. Light exploded where they touched. Blinding, burning. His left hand joined it. Darkness poured out. Consuming. Devouring. You will not touch her. His voice was both tones at once. Angel and demon speaking in perfect unison. You will not touch our child. The guardian shrieked. A sound that made the shelves tremble, made contracts fall from their places. Our child? You claim the debt? You claim the promised? Through the bond, Mira felt Cain's realization the same moment she understood. Our child. He'd said our child, not hers, ours. Yes. The word came out certain, final. I claim her. The child. The woman. Both. His grip tightened, light and shadow warring across the guardian's form. A mate bond supersedes all contracts. You know this. It's older law than any written here. Mate bonds must be completed, sealed with marking, witnessed by both realms. The guardian's form flickered. This bond is incomplete. This claim is invalid. Then we complete it. Cain released the guardian, turned to Mira. His eyes were blazing, red and blue swirling so fast they became purple. Now, here, with this thing as witness. Cain, what are you talking about? Marking. I have to mark you. Physically. Permanently. His hands cupped her face, heat and cold against her skin. It will hurt. It will change you. You'll be bound to me forever. Half human, half touched by what I am. You'll live longer than mortals, age slower, be vulnerable to things that can't hurt normal humans. But our daughter will be free. Yes, if you're marked as my mate, if the bond is complete and recognized, she becomes Nephilim offspring, not human, not subject to human contracts. His forehead pressed against hers. But you need to choose. I can't force this. It has to be willing. Absolute. Through the bond, she felt everything he wasn't saying. The desperate hope. The terror that she'd refuse. The certainty that he was asking too much. The knowledge that it was the only way. Mira thought of her daughter, growing inside her. Innocent. Unaware of the darkness waiting to claim her. Thought of spending the rest of her life looking over her shoulder. Waiting for collectors to return. Watching her child live under a death sentence. Thought of Cain. 300 years of suffering. 300 years of collecting souls to maintain the last shreds of his humanity. 300 years of being alone because attachment meant pain. Do it. Her hands covered his on her face. Mark me, claim me, save her. Mira, you need to understand what you're agreeing to. The marking is agony, like being burned and frozen simultaneously. And once it's done, there's no reversal. You're mine. I'm yours. Forever. I know. She pulled his face down to hers. I feel what you feel, remember? I know exactly what forever means to you. And I'm choosing it anyway. Something in his expression broke, shattered, reformed into something she'd never seen there before. Hope. Real, terrifying, beautiful hope. I don't deserve you. Good thing I'm not asking what you deserve. She managed a smile despite the fear coursing through her. I'm demanding what we both need. Freedom. Future. Family. He kissed her then. The first time their lips touched. And it was fire and ice, creation and destruction, angel and demon all at once. The bond flared so bright Mira saw it behind her closed eyes. Gold and silver threads weaving between them, tying them together at a level deeper than flesh. When he pulled back, his hands moved to her shoulders. His right hand pressed against her left shoulder. His left hand pressed against her right shoulder. The reversal was intentional, marking her with both halves of what he was. This will hurt. His voice was gentle, apologetic. I'm sorry. The marking began. Heat and cold simultaneously burning into her skin. Deeper than skin. Into muscle. Into bone. Into the very core of her being. She screamed. Couldn't help it. The pain was beyond anything she'd imagined, like being unmade and remade at the same time. Through the agony, she felt Cain's anguish. He was hurting her, the one thing he'd sworn never to do. But he didn't stop. Couldn't stop, because stopping meant losing everything. The marking took shape. On her left shoulder, a wing made of light, delicate, beautiful, angelic. On her right shoulder, a wing made of shadow, sharp, terrible, demonic. 2 wings that would never fly but would forever mark her as belonging to something caught between heaven and hell. When it finished, Mira collapsed against him, shaking, sobbing, but alive, changed, claimed. The guardian watched with its void eyes. Finally, it spoke. The marking is witnessed. The bond is recognized. The claim is valid. It reached past them, pulled the contract from the shelf. This debt is dissolved. This contract is void. Before their eyes, the parchment crumbled, turned to ash, scattered into nothing. 300 years of bondage. Gone. But the guardian wasn't finished. Know this, Nephilim. Breaking your original contract has consequences. The magic binding you to collections must be released. It will consume you, change you. You may not survive what comes next. I know. Cain held Mira tighter. But she will. They both will. That's all that matters. The guardian faded back into shadows, left them alone in the vault with ashes of a burned contract and a bond that would last beyond death. Cain's body began to shake, convulse, the magic backlash starting, 300 years of collected souls demanding release. His eyes flickered rapidly. Red, blue, red, blue. Faster and faster until they were just strobing light. We need to get out of here. Mira grabbed his face. Stay with me. We leave together or not at all. Through the bond, she felt him fragmenting. Angel and demon tearing apart, fighting for dominance, trying to destroy each other, trying to destroy him. Getting out of Hell's vault was nothing like entering. The corridor that had been obsidian was now collapsing. Walls cracking, ceiling raining debris that burned where it touched skin. Reality itself was rejecting them, rejecting what they'd done, breaking a contract that old had consequences. The vault was trying to repair itself by erasing the breakers. Cain could barely walk. Mira supported as much of his weight as her pregnant body could manage. One arm around his waist, feeling him shake violently against her. Through the bond, his pain was excruciating, like being torn apart from the inside. 300 years of collected souls screaming for release, each one a death he'd caused, each one demanding acknowledgement, retribution, justice. Stay with me. She gasped as another tremor racked his body. We're almost there. I can see the opening. Ahead, the chasm they'd fallen through was closing, narrowing. In minutes, maybe seconds it would. Seal completely. Trap them here forever. Another exhibit in Hell's collection of failed thieves. Cain stumbled, fell to his knees. His right hand pressed against the obsidian floor and flowers bloomed instantly. Beautiful, radiant. His left hand followed and they withered to ash. Creation and destruction happening simultaneously. Out of control. I can't. His voice was fragmented, multiple tones overlapping. Angel and demon no longer in harmony. Leave me. Take the bond. Take the protection. Get her out. Absolutely not. Mira grabbed his face, forced those strobing eyes to meet hers. Red, blue, red, blue. Flashing so fast it made her dizzy. We made a deal. Forever, remember? That includes the next 5 minutes. Forever was contingent on me surviving. Blood trickled from his nose, from his ears. The backlash was destroying him physically. I'm fracturing. I can feel it. Angel side wants to ascend. Demon side wants to descend. They're going to tear me apart. Then let them. Fight. She pulled him to his feet through sheer force of will. "But they do it outside this place. Move, Cain. Now." They staggered forward. The corridor fought them. Gravity shifted. Up became sideways. The ground tried to open beneath their feet. Whispers promised peace if they'd just stop, just surrender, just become part of the collection like so many before them. Through it all, the bond held. Mira felt every fracture happening inside him, felt angel and demon warring. But she also felt something else, something neither side could claim. The human part, the piece that had loved Alara, that loved her now, that chose mercy over duty, that fought to survive not for itself, but for them. That part, she gasped, dragging him another step. The part that's neither angel nor demon, the part that's just you. Hold on to that. Don't let them consume it. There is no me without them. Another convulsion. His skin was changing, right side glowing so bright it hurt to look at. Left side, darkening until it seemed to absorb light. I'm just the battlefield they're fighting on. Bullshit. She pulled harder. The opening was 20 feet away. 15. You're Cain. You're Raziel. You're the Nephilim who spent 300 years hating what he was forced to do, who warned me instead of just taking my daughter, who's fighting to survive because you promised forever. 10 feet. You're mine, and I don't let go of what's mine. Something in him stabilized. Just slightly. Just enough. The strobing slowed, red and blue still fighting but not as violently, like her words had given that human core something to anchor to. They reached the opening. Mira looked up at the chasm leading back to the ruined cathedral. It was vertical, impossible to climb, and closing fast. We have to jump. Cain's voice was clearer, stronger. I can get us up if you trust me. I trust you. She wrapped both arms around his neck. Fly us out of hell. His arms circled her waist. She felt the moment he stopped fighting the duality, stopped trying to control which side dominated. Instead, he used both. Right hand glowing, left hand dark. Angel and demon working together for the first time in 3 centuries. They launched upward. Not flying. Something else. Reality bending around them. Space compressing. The chasm rushed past in a blur of darkness and screaming faces. Mira pressed against him, felt his heart beating in 2 rhythms. Fast and slow. Warm and cold. Life and death intertwined. They exploded out of the chasm into the ruined cathedral. Hit the scorched ground hard. Rolled. Separated. Mira gasped for air that didn't taste like ash and despair. Real air. Cold, clean, free. Behind them, the chasm sealed with a sound like thunder. The ground smoothed over. No evidence it had ever existed. Just scorched earth and broken stone. Cain lay several feet away, unmoving. Mira crawled to him on hands and knees, shoulders burning where the marking still felt raw. Cain. Cain. Answer me. He didn't respond. His eyes were closed. Skin pale. For a horrifying moment she thought they'd escaped hell only for him to die in the ruins of a desecrated church. Then the bond pulsed. Weak but present. He was alive. Barely. Unconscious. His body still processing the backlash. Still fighting the war between angel and demon. She managed to get him to the car. Managed to drive back to the coast, even though exhaustion made her vision blur. Managed to get him inside her house and onto the couch. Then she collapsed beside him, one hand on his chest feeling those dual heartbeats, the other on her stomach feeling her daughter move for the first time. Tiny flutter. Proof of life. Proof that what they'd done mattered. She must have fallen asleep because when she woke, dawn light filtered through windows, and Cain's eyes were open. Watching her, no longer strobing, stable, one blue, one red. But the war between them had quieted. We're alive. His voice was hoarse. We actually made it out. We did. She touched his face. Heat and cold still present, but less extreme. How do you feel? Like I died and came back wrong. He caught her hand, held it against his cheek. The souls, all of them. They're not gone. They're part of me now. I can feel every person I collected, every life I ended. It's overwhelming. Through the bond, she felt it. The weight of 63 souls pressing against his consciousness. 63 deaths he'd carry forever. Not as contracts, as memories, as ghosts that would never fully leave. I'm sorry. She didn't know what else to say. Don't be. He sat up slowly, pulled her against him. It's the price for freedom, for breaking the contract. I knew it would happen. I chose it anyway. His hand moved to her stomach, pressed gently. She moved. I felt it through the bond. She's real. She's safe. That's worth carrying every soul I took. Mira's eyes burned with tears. I thought we'd lost you, in the vault. You were breaking apart. I was. I would have. His lips brushed her forehead. But you wouldn't let me. You held on to the bond. Reminded me there was something worth fighting for, beyond angel or demon. He pulled back enough to look at her. The marking. How is it? She became aware of the burning again. The wings on her shoulders, one light, one dark. It hurts, but it's bearable. Let me see. She turned, lifted her shirt. Felt his sharp intake of breath as he traced the markings, where his right finger touched the light. Wing, warmth spread. Where his left finger touched the dark wing, pleasant coolness. His touch made them bearable, made them beautiful instead of brands. You're marked as Nephilim mate now, claimed, protected by laws older than the contract we destroyed. His voice was soft, reverent. No collector can touch you. No demon can claim you. You're mine in a way that supersedes every other bond. And you're mine. She turned back to face him. Which means we figure out how to live with this. The souls, the marking, the bond, all of it. Together. Together. She kissed him, gentle, a promise. We have 54 days before the collectors come back expecting to find your mission complete. We need a story, an explanation. We tell them the truth. His expression hardened. That the contract was destroyed. That you're my marked mate. That the child is Nephilim offspring now, not human, not subject to their claims. Will they accept that? Through the bond, she felt his uncertainty. They'll have to. Mate bonds are sacred. Even hell respects them. But there will be consequences. I broke a 300-year contract, destroyed hell's property. They'll want retribution. What kind of retribution? Exile. Stripping of what remains of my angelic nature. Maybe execution if they're feeling particularly vindictive. He cupped her face. But you and the baby will be protected. That's ironclad. Whatever they do to me won't touch you. No. The word came out fierce. We don't. Separate. We made it through Hell's Vault together. We'll make it through this together too. Before he could respond, the air pressure changed. That familiar crushing weight. The smell of sulfur and ozone mixed. Mira's heart kicked into overdrive. They're here. Cain stood, positioned himself between her and the door. Earlier than expected. They must have felt the contract break. The door didn't explode this time. It simply opened. The two collectors from before stood in the frame. But they weren't alone. Behind them, something bigger, older, more terrible. A figure made of shadow and flame whose presence made the house groan. The first collector's black eyes fixed on Cain. On the way, he stood protectively in front of Mira. On the way, her hand rested on her marked shoulder. Understanding dawned. You bonded with the contract holder. Its voice was flat, emotionless. You destroyed our property. You violated every law you swore to uphold. I did. Cain didn't flinch. And I'd do it. Again. The shadow figure stepped forward. When it spoke, The windows cracked. 300 years of service, 300 years of loyalty, thrown away for a human female and her spawn. Not thrown away, reclaimed. Cain's hands began to glow, right hand light, left hand dark, ready to fight. I'm done being your collector, done sacrificing innocence to maintain a humanity that was never mine to lose. You want retribution? Take it, but you leave them alone. The figure studied him, studied Mira, studied the bond connecting them, visible even to demonic eyes. Finally, it spoke. Very well. Your punishment is this. You are exiled from both realms. Heaven will not accept you. Hell will not harbor you. You exist in between, forever caught, forever divided. It turned those burning eyes to Mira. And you, marked mate, you carry his curse now, his isolation, his eternal struggle. You've bound yourself to a creature that belongs nowhere. I belong with him. Mira stood, moved to Cain's, sighed, took his hand. Wherever that is, however that looks, we face it together. The figure laughed. It sounded like worlds ending. So be it. Live your exile, raise your half-breed child, and remember, every day of your extended life, that you chose this. They vanished, all three, left behind only sulfur and the echo of that terrible laugh. Silence filled the house. Cain's hand tightened around Mira's. Through the bond, she felt everything. Relief, terror, grief, hope, all tangled together. Exile, he whispered. We're truly alone now. No. She turned into his arms. We're truly free. 7 months later, Mira stood in the nursery they'd built together, one hand on her swollen belly, watching sunset paint the ocean in shades of fire. The baby kicked hard against her ribs, strong, persistent, alive in a way that still felt like a miracle. The house had changed. They'd repaired the broken door, painted walls, filled empty rooms with furniture and warmth, and the kind of quiet peace that came from surviving impossible things together. The markings on her shoulders had faded from burning brands to silver scars, one light wing, one dark, visible reminders of the choice she'd made. Cain appeared in the doorway, arms full of wood for the crib he was building. His eyes found hers immediately. The bond between them had deepened over months of exile. She could feel him now even in different rooms. His presence was a constant warmth and cold against her consciousness. Comfort and challenge intertwined. She's active today. He set the wood down, crossed to her, placed both hands on her stomach. Heat and cold through the fabric of her dress. The baby kicked toward his touch like she recognized her father. Strong like her mother. Stubborn like her father. Mira covered his hands with hers. She kept me up half the night doing acrobatics, already causing trouble. His smile was soft, the kind of expression she'd never seen on his face those first terrifying nights. I like her already. They'd chosen a name weeks ago, Alara, for the woman who died trying to protect her daughter, for the love that had started this whole impossible journey. It felt right, felt like honoring the past while building something new. The exile had been harder than either anticipated. Cain couldn't access angelic powers without pain now. Heaven rejected him, pushed back, made him bleed for every act of creation. His demonic side was stronger, hungrier, demanding more control. Diane. War inside him hadn't ended with the contract's destruction. It had just changed battlefields. But he fought it. Every day. For her. For their daughter. For the future they were building in this isolated house on the cliff, where no one from either realm would look for them. I need to tell you something. Mira's voice was quiet. Something I've been afraid to say. His hand stilled on her stomach. Through the bond, she felt his immediate concern. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. That's the problem. She turned in his arms. I'm happy. Genuinely, impossibly happy. Despite everything. Despite the exile and the marking and knowing we can never be normal, I'm happier than I've ever been. Understanding flickered in his mismatched eyes. And that terrifies you. It does. Her hands fisted in his shirt. The last time I was happy, I was married to a man who was lying about everything. I'm scared this is the same. That I'm missing something. That happiness is just the calm before. Everything falls apart again. Mira. He cupped her face, heat and cold against her skin. I can't promise nothing will ever go wrong. We're exiled Nephilim and marked mate living in a house held together by hope and stubbornness. Something will always be wrong. His forehead pressed to hers. But I can promise I'm not lying. What you feel through the bond, what I feel, it's all real. The happiness, the love, the certainty that I'd burn both heaven and hell before letting anyone hurt you. That's not healthy. Probably not. His lips quirked. But it's honest. And after everything you've been through, don't you deserve someone who's honest about being completely, irrevocably yours? She kissed him, deep and certain, and full of 7 months of learning how to trust again. Through the bond, his emotions flooded her. Love so fierce it was almost violent. Protectiveness that bordered on obsession. And underneath it all, quiet gratitude. For her. For survival. For this second chance. At something resembling life. When they separated, she rested her head against his chest. Listened to his dual heartbeats. Fast and slow. Warm and cold. Life and death in constant rhythm. I'm scared about the birth. The admission came out small. What if something goes wrong? What if being half Nephilim hurts her? What if I can't protect her the way Alara couldn't protect your first daughter? His arms tightened around her. Then we face it together. You're not alone this time. I'm not. Powerless this time. Whatever comes, we handle it. He pulled back enough to meet her eyes. And Mira, you're not Alara. You don't have to die for our daughter to live. That's not how this story ends. How does it end? I don't know. His honesty was brutal and beautiful. I've never made it this far before. Never had someone choose me knowing what I am. Never had a chance to be a father without it being tainted by contract and collection. His hand moved to her stomach again. But I think maybe it doesn't end. Maybe we just keep going, keep building, keep choosing each other even when it's hard. Forever. Forever. He smiled. Though fair warning, forever for a Nephilim and his marked mate is a very long time. You might get sick of me. Impossible. She pulled him toward the window. Look, she's going to grow up with this view. Ocean and cliffs and sky. No collectors, no contracts, just family. Family. He tested the word like it was foreign. Maybe it was. I like the sound. Of that. They stood together watching the sun sink below the horizon. The baby moved between them. Proof that something good could come from darkness. That love could survive even hell's vault. That broken things could choose to heal together. Cain? Mira's voice was soft. Do you ever regret it? Breaking the contract? Binding yourself to me? Living in exile? He was quiet for a long moment. Through the bond, she felt him considering, weighing, being honest. I regret the pain it caused you. The marking, the fear, the burden of carrying my curse. His hand found hers, laced their fingers together, heat and cold, light and dark. But regret choosing you? Regret fighting for our daughter? Regret finally, after 300 years, having something worth more than survival? He brought her hand to his lips. Never. Not for a single moment. Tears burned hot down her cheeks. I love you. I know I haven't said it. I was scared to. But I do. I love you. I know. His smile was gentle. I feel it every moment through the bond. Your love, your trust, your stubborn refusal to give up on me even when I'm fighting myself. He wiped her tears with his thumb. And I love you. Both of you. More than I thought I was capable of loving anything. The moment stretched between them. Perfect, fragile, real. A contraction hit suddenly, sharp, intense. Mira gasped, doubled over. Cain caught her immediately. "Is it time?" His voice was steady, but she felt his panic through the bond. "I think so." Another contraction, stronger. "She's coming. Our daughter is coming." They'd prepared for this, supplies ready, plan in place, but nothing truly prepared them for the reality. Labor was long, brutal. Mira screamed and swore and squeezed Cain's hands so hard she thought she'd break bones. He held her through all of it, whispered encouragement, let her feel his strength through the bond when hers faltered. 16 hours later, as dawn broke over the ocean, their daughter was born. Tiny, perfect, screaming with healthy lungs. Mira held her while Cain cut the cord with shaking hands, watched him see his daughter for the first time, alive, whole, free. Ilara had her father's eyes, one blue, one red, mismatched and beautiful, proof of what she was, who she came from, the legacy she'd carry. "She's perfect." Cain's voice broke. "She's absolutely perfect. She's ours." Mira adjusted the blanket around their daughter. No contracts, no collectors, just ours. They sat together in the early morning light. New parents, exiled beings, marked mates. A family built from broken pieces and impossible choices. Outside, the ocean crashed against cliffs. Eternal, relentless, beautiful. Somewhere, heaven and hell continued their eternal war. Somewhere, contracts were being written and debts collected. Somewhere, other Nephilim walked alone through centuries of isolation and duty. But here, in this house on the cliff, 3 souls existed outside that cycle. Free, flawed, together. "What do we tell her?" Mira whispered. "When she's old enough to ask why her eyes are different, why we live alone, why her mother has wings scarred on her shoulders. We tell her the truth." Cain's finger traced their daughter's tiny hand. She gripped it instinctively. That her parents fought hell itself to give her freedom. That love is stronger than any contract. That being different isn't a curse. It's proof you survived impossible things. He looked at Mira. "And we tell her that she's loved. Completely, eternally, without conditions or contracts, just loved." Ilara yawned, settled into sleep, safe in her mother's arms, protected by her father's presence, unaware of the price paid for her existence. Forever starts now. Mira leaned against Cain, felt his arms circle both of them. "Our forever, our family, our choice. Our choice." He pressed a kiss to her temple, then to their daughter's forehead. "And I choose this. Every time. Every lifetime. Every forever." The sun rose fully. Over the ocean. Light spilled through windows, warmed the room where 3 impossible souls had built something beautiful from darkness, where a Nephilim learned to be a father, where a widow learned to trust again, where a daughter would grow up free from the sins of her ancestors. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. There would be struggles, questions, moments when exile felt crushing and isolation felt impossible. But they would face it together. 3 people who belonged nowhere except to each other. And in a world that had taken so much, that was everything. Some loves don't give you a happy ending. They give you a choice. A terrible, beautiful choice between safety and sacrifice, between walking away whole or staying and being forever changed. Mira chose the impossible. To trust a creature designed to destroy her, to mark herself as belonging to something caught between damnation and grace, to fight hell itself for a daughter who hadn't even been born yet. And Cain chose her. Chose humanity over duty. Chose love over 300 years of survival. They built a family from broken pieces and paid for it with exile from both heaven and hell. But here's the question that haunts long after their story ends. What would you sacrifice for someone you love? Would you bind yourself to a cursed existence to save your child? Would you risk everything for a connection that defies every law written in blood and souls? Would you choose the person who's honest about being broken over? The one who pretends to be whole? This story isn't about monsters and contracts. It's about the courage it takes to love when you've been destroyed, the strength it takes to trust when you've been betrayed, the radical act of choosing connection when isolation feels safer. Mira and Cain didn't get a fairy tale. They got something harder and more real. Each other, flawed and fierce and fighting for a future no one promised them. They got exile and scars and a daughter with mismatched eyes who'll grow up knowing her parents burned the world to give her freedom. And maybe that's the most powerful kind of love. Not the kind that saves you from darkness, but the kind that holds your hand while you walk through it together. If this story moved you, if it made you feel something raw and real, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to remember that broken people can still build beautiful things. Like this video if you believe love is worth fighting for, even when the odds are impossible. Subscribe to this channel for more stories that dig deep into what it means to be human, to survive, to choose connection over comfort. Because stories like these remind us we're not alone in our struggles, our scars, or our stubborn refusal to give up on the people we love. Thank you for listening. Thank you for feeling. And remember, you're stronger than any contract written against you.